Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome to another discussion video. Today we are going to be discussing the topic of Aoi Zaizen, the leading lady in the Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS anime, and why I believe she deserved so much better than what the writers gave her. Now yes, you can make this topic for honestly most of the girls in Yu-Gi-Oh! And probably a lot of the characters just generally speaking in Yu-Gi-Oh! But Aoi's character was handled in a way that just really personally irks me, and I want to dive deeper into why and dive deeper into that and basically give you guys a good old-fashioned rant video, which I do not do often on this channel. Usually we focus on the positives. I did do a rant video about the Battle Beast arc. That'll be linked down below, but I want to bring back the rant, kind of let my negativity come out a little bit, and talk to you guys about Aoi Zaizen, her character, and why I believe her character just deserved way more than it got. I hope you guys leave your own thoughts on this down below, and without further ado, let's begin. So before we really get into the writing of Aoi Zaizen, I do want to talk about the early introduction of her character and why I always felt her character was one of the most fascinating and easy, at least for me, to relate to characters in the story of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS. So Aoi Zaizen is a pretty typical person. She's a pretty typical high schooler. She's a girl. Looks a little bland in her design. Her personality is a little bland as well. She's very reserved. Reserved is definitely the better term. And that's done purposely because when she goes into Link VRAINS, which is the social media world, if you will, of the Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS world, she becomes Blue Angel, one of the most bubbly and beloved human beings in the entirety of Link VRAINS, one of the most popular charisma duelists. And so right off the bat, in the very beginning stages of VRAINS, I absolutely loved this duality, and I think it's a duality that speaks on some of the issues we face in real life very, very well. I know personally, I get burnt out from social media so much, and if I'm having a bad week and I go on social media and I see all these great posts from people on Facebook and on Instagram and on Twitter and on Snapchat, I sometimes feel a little down about myself and about my life, and I feel very self-conscious about that. And it's important to remember that social media for a lot of people is a highlight reel. It never tells the full story of what is actually going on, but I think social media can really be such a detriment to our health. I know it's been in the past and even today a detriment to my own mental health. And so seeing the duality of Aoi Zaizen struggling with the real life version of her, being depressed, being alone, having no friends, and being just a very to herself and reserved person, and then seeing her able to be the human being that she wishes she was in the real world in VRAINS, which again is the equation of social media, was absolutely fascinating and made me immediately fall in love with her character and personally relate to her character right off the bat. So the writers already gave us a really fascinating situation that I think a lot of us can relate to in terms of that balance between real life and social media. I mean, take a look at this image and this scene of her going into the VRAINS. She literally looks like she is dead inside. I mean, really, this is actually one of the more creepy scenes. It's one of the scenes I really remember from early VRAINS because I was like, oh my god, she does not look good. She looks horrible. And the second she goes into the VRAINS, she's all of a sudden an entirely different person, where everyone loves her, where everyone wants to be her friend, and then in the real world, she has nobody. She doesn't even have her brother early on in the show, and the duality of it was great. And so they already gave us a really interesting character with Aoi and just the struggles that she was facing. So now, here's the problem. They really could have done so much with this. They could have played deeper into it, and yet it almost seems like her character peaked with her debut. She did have a pretty big win against Vira, which I'm going to get to, but let's go duel by duel and see how they handled Aoi Zaizen's character. So her first duel is against Playmaker, the main protagonist of VRAINS, and of course she loses, unless Playmaker forgot how to pendulum summon, wink wink. The girl always loses to the guy when they first duel in the show, actually in pretty much every duel of the show. So I'm not going to beat her for that, but it's the way that she loses these duels. And this is what I want you guys to think about. Winning and losing is not everything, but when almost every single loss comes with a very humiliating end, it almost starts to feel like the writing team is trying to shove this image of Aoi down our throats, that she is this really helpless and almost pathetic character, which she's not at all. But she gets infected by Spectre and the Knights of Hanoi, and so when she loses to Playmaker, she starts to lose her mind and falls from her D-board all the way down to the ground and enters a coma. So her first loss, and they already put her into a coma and had her get brainwashed. Two tropes that Yu-Gi-Oh has really, really overdone with their Yu-Gi-Oh girl leads for many years, even before VRAINS. And so that happened in the first 8 episodes of the show. So already, sure, losing to Playmaker, I don't have any issue with that at all, but it's the way that she lost. It was already kind of, not a great look. She comes back from her coma, and she beats Prototype B, a very forgettable, just that prototype of a duelist, robot, AI, I don't know what you want to call him. Then her next duel is against Byra, and this is easily her biggest win. I think probably when her character arc peaks, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because she beats Vyra in episode 26, and Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS was a 120 episode anime, so that's why I say unfortunately. This was definitely her biggest win by far. She ends up basically saving everyone from the Another Curse. She gets Vyra to release the antidote for the curse because she inspires Vyra based on how she acted and how she dueled and how she fought for the general public. And Vyra even said at the end that Aoi reminded her a lot of how she was when she used to be young. I wish we got to see these two interact at any point down the road, because it seemed like there could have been a pretty cool kind of mentorship that Vyra could have played with Aoi Zaizen, or even just some sort of relationship that the two of them had. But unfortunately, I don't think they say a word to each other after this duel. So she beats Vyra. It's a good win for her. And this is when her character just kind of takes a turn. Her next duel is against Spectre. And most of you guys will remember this duel because of the one moment at the end. This moment has been memed to all hell, and the problem with her losing to Spectre is the way that she loses at the end of the duel. As I said before, a lot of what happened with Aoi and losing, I don't really take much issue with her losing these duels. I take a massive issue with the antics that occurred after she lost the duel. She loses to Spectre, who we already know is a wildly twisted and evil and insane character. There is nothing more that you need to show us with Spectre to convince us of that. And yet they decided it was a good idea to not only have Blue Angel lose this duel and not get her revenge on the guy that poisoned her at the beginning of the show, but they have her get thrown up in this twister and then fall down in such an embarrassing and just kind of really, I don't know what the writers were thinking with this. I really don't. She face plants on the concrete. You can kind of hear, I would imagine, probably her neck snap, and her entire body just goes limp. And I remember watching this for the first time, and it just felt so unnecessary, and even years removed from it. I know it's been memed to no end, but it's just so unnecessary, and it really just makes her look not great. It just is not a good look, and I just don't know what the writers were trying to accomplish by having her lose in this fashion. I really don't. And so she's gone for the rest of the arc. She gets absorbed into the tower. I don't know why she couldn't have just lost in a normal way where you fly back and fall on your back and then get absorbed into the tower. I don't know why the antics of her getting flung in the air like a rag doll and then getting thrown onto the ground face first onto concrete was the action they decided to go with. I have no idea, and I'll never know. But she's gone for the rest of the arc. She comes back and she becomes Blue Girl, which is obviously in reference to Ghost Girl Emma Besso taking her under her wing. I liked the mentorship and the partnership that her and Emma formed, and I like it because Emma was more of an outgoing person, a confident person. I think she was the perfect person to match Aoi Zaizen up with, and it shows the influence Emma had on her by giving her this Blue Girl persona. She only has one duel as Blue Girl, which is the problem. And the one duel is against Soulburner, the man who was introduced 9 episodes prior, who is just tearing up, burning up, if you will, sorry for the pun, the entire cast of VRAINS. And this is one of the only one-episode duels that takes place in the early stages of the second season, which also always rubbed me the wrong way. Like, they just didn't even have time to flesh this out as a two-part duel. And Aoi Zaizen really duels well. I really do believe that she out-duels Soulburner in this duel, but Soulburner has a great final turn, uses Fusion of Fire, which is kind of like a pseudo-super polymerization, and gets the win. And how does Blue Girl lose this duel after being defeated? They decide to have her get thrown into a cliffside wall and then go once again unconscious before being sent back to the real world. So her first 3 losses, let's see the extracurricular that happened after she loses. She gets put in a coma, she gets face planted into concrete and goes limp and then gets absorbed by the Tower of Hanoi, and she gets thrown into a cliffside wall and then goes unconscious. Please find me any other Yu-Gi-Oh character in any of the previous shows where they had 3 losses that were all followed by legitimately just being humiliated after they lose. She did not have a single loss in her first 3 losses where she just lost, where she just fell over, or, you know, the classic, you get thrown in the air and then maybe you fall on your back and you skid a little bit. Nothing like that. Nothing. All 3 of them had this extracurricular humiliation aspect to it, and I have no idea on earth why that always happened with Aoi Zaizen's character. And so here's the worst part. Blue Girl then becomes Blue Maiden, which I love Blue Maiden's look. I would say all 3 of the blue versions of Aoi, very aesthetically pleasing. There's really none that I disliked. I probably like Blue Maiden the most, then Blue Angel, and then Blue Girl. But the Blue Maiden transformation, which was, I guess, supposed to be her coming out of Emma's shadow, just made no sense because it felt so unearned. She teamed up with Aqua, she teamed up with the Water Ignis, but she did not have a single win as Blue Girl. In fact, for almost 30 episodes, she didn't even have a duel as Blue Girl or as Blue Maiden when she made that transformation. It just felt like such an unearned transformation, to be completely honest. And even though I loved Marinsis, and I think it fit well, you know, water monsters with a Maiden of the Sea, Blue Maiden, I think symbolically it fit very well. It just didn't feel deserved. And I don't know why they couldn't give her any win as Blue Girl, so at least you could have had it make sense to grant her that character transformation into Blue Maiden. So then she does have a win as Blue Maiden, and her win is against Haru. Now, I want you to think about it. This is her only win in the last 94 episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS. In the last 94 episodes of the anime, she has 1 win against Haru, who was a character that was told by Lightning that he has no chance to defeat Blue Maiden because he is a weak duelist. That was the hype up for Haru going into this duel. So of course we're gonna give her to Blue Maiden, right? Yeah, we'll give her an easy win. That's not even me assuming things. That's legitimately what the dialogue told us. That this was going to be an easy win for Blue Maiden because Haru is a poor duelist. You want to talk about another wasted potential character? I could do a whole nother video on Haru, but that's just insane to me. And so Aoi Zaizen's 3 wins, she only had 3 wins, were against Prototype B, Vira, and Haru. And you know what all 3 of her wins had in common? They were one-off duelist characters. She did not beat a single character that at least had 1 win or had another duel against someone else in the show. When you look back at it in hindsight, that is absolutely insane. It's almost like all 3 of the characters she beat were literally there just so she could beat them. And they almost served no other purpose dueling-wise. Now, Vira did have another purpose with the show. Haru and especially Prototype B, you can make the case that they were complete fodder for Aoi Zaizen getting wins. And so when you look back at what she did from a dueling perspective and a character perspective, especially because after Akira Zaizen was more around, they kind of went away from that whole great duality of I'm miserable in real life, I need to work on myself and heal myself in real life, versus I'm amazing in social media, I'm amazing in Link VRAINS. They kind of left that, right? That was kind of not really a focus with her character after the first 15, 20 episodes. And so when you look at some of these duels and her character development, the writers just, in my opinion, completely butchered it. Now, she had 2 more duels after Haru. She dueled Bowman. She put up a good fight, but lost. And then she dueled Ai, put up a good fight with her brother Akira, but ultimately lost. I will say this about Aoi, all things considered. Out of any Yu-Gi-Oh girl, she had the hardest set of opponents. She had to duel Soulburner. She had to duel the main villain of Season 2 in Bowman and the main villain of Season 3 in Ai. No other Yu-Gi-Oh girl that I can think of had to duel any sort of main antagonist. Aki didn't duel Zone. Aki didn't duel Aporia. Aki didn't duel Godwin. Asuka certainly didn't duel Darkness or Yubel. So from that perspective, Aoi certainly had the hardest and probably best quality opponents. But that being said, it is still so disappointing looking back on Aoi Zaizen's character, a character that I thought started out fascinating, and seeing just what the writing team made of her, which, again, it's one thing to lose, but it's another thing to make your character over and over and over lose in such a humiliating way. For every win she had a humiliating defeat to go along with it. 3 wins, 3 really humiliating ways to lose, and a character that I really still enjoy. Even despite all of this, I still really like Aoi Zaizen. She's one of my top 5 girls in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! But when I really look back and analyze what they did with her, I mean, my God, it is just, it's really, really, in my opinion, just a butchering of a character that was introduced in such interesting fashion. It's a shame. It really is a shame what happened with Aoi. But guys, that's my rant. Aoi Zaizen deserved better. From the beginning of the show, she was such a relatable character, and to see what happened to her, and to look back and analyze the way that she was written in some of her defeats, and the characters that she beat ultimately, not being important and relevant characters at all, maybe barring Vira. But again, Vira only dueled once, even though she was more around than Haru and Prototype B. It's not like Vira was all over the place. It's just a, it's a shame. It's a shame. And let me know, if you guys disagree with me, I mean, please let me know. If you think Aoi was written really, really well and you wouldn't have changed anything, definitely let me know. I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If you agree with me, let me know as well. If there's anything you want to add on or contradict as to what I said, please let me know. I love hearing from all of you guys. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoy these kind of rant videos. If there's any other topics you want me to rant on, again, I like to keep it mostly positive here, but every now and then, maybe every couple of months, I'll do a rant like this. I definitely have a whole rant dedicated to Yuzu versus Yuri. In my opinion, the worst duel in Yu-Gi-Oh! History. So, yeah, if there's any other topics you want me to rant on, please let me know. But I really hope you enjoyed. Thank you all so much for watching. And a special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Panther J, Blue Maiden 28, Jarrett Buller, and X-Slayer 64, and to my Diamond tier patrons, Jesse Wood, Latrell Smith, and Anime Kaput, and to my Egyptian God tier patron, XZsLover 104. Thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon and who is a YouTube channel member. You guys help me out tremendously, and I would not be able to do this without all of you. I stream over on Twitch, twitch.tv/SuperDeepRot. Link will be in the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and I really do appreciate all the incredible support that you guys give me. I will talk to you down below. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day. Take care, guys.